All right. Welcome to ModernThirst.com's live stream of a blind tasting. I am Bill Straub. I'm the editor of ModernThirst.com. With me, I have Wes Jolly, Nick Krieger, who is not Len Krieger, and Timothy Van Riper, who is also not Len Krieger. So, guys, tell me a little bit about yourselves. Wes, start with you.
I'm Wes Jolly. Started writing for Modern Thirst in 2017 as the World Whiskies writer, and a fan of Ardbeg, if you can't tell, behind my shoulder there.
Not Len. Tell me about yourself. You're on mute.
Indeed, I am. And yeah, I'm Nick Krieger here in Houston, Texas. Been writing about and enjoying libations and spirits since 2009, probably before that, really, but writing about them since then anyway, and kind of all things spirits here.
And last, but certainly not least,
Timothy Van Riper, single barrel snob, been writing for Modern Thirst since last year. Yeah, I like single barrels. I like writing about single barrels. I like talking whiskey. I run a tasting room here in Louisville, Kentucky. So whiskey's always on my mind, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're going to go. I sent around a while back 6 different samples, little 2-ounce samples to everybody, some things that we just want to taste through. Kind of academic, I guess you would say. But in the meantime, it's probably best that if you are priming your palate to have a little something to sip on. So I'm going to start with a Wilderness Trail single barrel. This is a Westport Whiskey and Wine. This was barrel number ISC4. I don't know. This is from, probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit less, from Westport Whiskey and Wine. And I'm sure that Timothy was very familiar with this. This is a wheated mash bill, so I'm going to start with that. What are you guys starting with?
I'm just going easy, man. I'm just trying to keep it light. Little JW Dant.
JWD.
Bottled and bond.
Wes was doing Jaeger shots before we went live, I think. But
I have some Colorado El Dorado water since I don't have another glass available right now. I have all 6 full right now.
And Len. Or Nick.
I'm just doing water, guys.
All right. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and get started. So we've done a few of these blind tastings before. I think the last one we did, Wes led us through some, and he threw in a bunch of Maker's Mark private barrels, which is really fun because it was very interesting how the different staves really, especially when we tasted them blind, how it really challenged our palates. And we thought we were tasting things and distilleries that we kind of weren't, and then there were other flavors that were just really unique. We really liked it. So in this one, I sent out. This kind of came about because I got a couple of samples that folks asked us to try. So I wanted to send them out and get your guys' blind opinions on them, not knowing what they are beforehand. So we'll kind of go through and talk about the nose, the flavor, the finish, and kind of your scores, whether you know how you like them. And we'll tally those up and average them out for an average score at the end. But while we were doing it, I noticed there were some other ones that I wanted to compare to a couple of the ones that were in the mix here. So I added some more in there, and that's how we came up with number 6. So if you guys want to go ahead and start, we're going to pour sample A.
That's
so
weird.
Go ahead and give that a nose.
Hey, it says on our YouTube that you're still waiting for Modern Thirst
Does it really?
to go live. Yeah, I just pulled up the YouTube page so I could chat, and it's not. I do not see any of us. I just see our splash page.
Let's see here. Let's see what's going on here. I got one live right now. Yeah, we're live. We're on there. You may just have the wrong address for it, but I see it on there. I will send that out to everybody. Tim, you can send it out to some of your followers. Anyone else can as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool because I put the wrong. I mean, I put the wrong link on my Instagram.
Yeah, I had to restart the whole thing at one point, so
Are you sending that link right now?
I just texted it over to everybody.
Cool.
I'll put it on the chat here if that's quicker. All right. Has everyone had a chance to nose sample A yet?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go around the horn with the nose. We'll start with Nick.
I get a lot of honey and like a major like maple syrup on pancakes vibe from that big time.
Tim.
Man, I'm getting tons of corn, but like it's like canned corn and some cinnamon, a little bit of green apple, tad of vanilla. It's super sweet. Like it's super sweet on the palate or on the nose rather.
Wes?
It's funny there, Timothy. I nosed these before we went on and wrote some things down. My first note was sour green apple.
Nice.
Some cinnamon sugar. I get what I classify a little bit of funky mint. And I don't know, maybe I think I get a little touch of rye in there, but that's my initial nose.
I will tell you that this is a straight bourbon.
Straight bourbon, huh?
It is a straight bourbon whiskey.
So not a straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey?
It might be, but I'm not going to tell you that yet.
Okay.
Of these, I'm going to guess Timothy has tried this before just because he works in a tasting room. But I know that room has been closed through most of COVID, so maybe not.
I reopened 2 weeks ago, actually. So that was cool.
So let's get into the tasting here. I think so. I should go ahead and mention that one thing that I had written down that no one else did was nuts. I got peanuts on this. On the nose. So the first time I tasted this, I did these. I obviously knew what they were, but I didn't do the comparison tasting. So I will not have the comparison taste when we get to a couple more of them. Let's start with flavor. Has everybody had a chance to sip it?
Yeah. Pick me last. I'm still Man, what is happening here right now?
I'll go ahead and start out since I had taken notes on these before. I got a little bit of syrup. It was kind of more of a molasses type than a maple. I got a little bit of the cinnamon. To me, it tasted a little bit young. It's got a little bit of almost a white dog kind of note on it.
Agreed.
I got some fruitiness. I called it orchard fruits and pears on the nose, but I did not get that on the palate. It did not carry through, and I was a little disappointed in that. So let's start. Who's ready?
I got
Wes.
When I first noticed, I don't know if it has any rye in the mash, but I didn't think it was a rye. I thought it was a bourbon, but I do think there's some rye influence in there. I get a spiced toffee, a little bit of that nuttiness you mentioned on the nose. I get a little bit of that in the palate. I get a pepper spice at the end, and I get a touch of like a younger wood note at the end of the palate.
Nick.
I'll be honest, man. I'm getting a lot of heat, a lot of corn. So I can definitely tell where Tim was talking about in the nose. I didn't get it so much in the nose, perhaps because of the glass I'm using here. I'm kind of off site really right now, but getting a heavy duty amount of corn, you know, maybe a little your standard vanilla and caramel that you get with bourbon, but I'm just not getting a whole ton else, to be honest. I'm not getting what I got in the nose at all.
Gotcha. Tim, what you getting there?
Man, I'll tell you, this thing is, I'm getting a lot of grain, a lot of spice, a little bit of vanilla. It's It's sweet, but it's not like your complex sweet which you get if a bourbon sat in a barrel for an extended amount of time. So it's like simple syrup sweet, not like caramel or butterscotch sweet. It's on the exhale. I just got so much more corn on the palate. It's spicy and aggressive and a little one-dimensional. Yeah.
So on the finish, this kind of carries through from the tasting. Obviously, a lot of tasting notes kind of spill over between the palate and the finish. But we'll start with Nick on this one. What were your thoughts on the finish?
Very thin, very fleeting, I guess is really the best way I can put it. Didn't stick around very much. You got a bit of what Tim was mentioning. You get like a little bit of a simple syrup, almost like a corn syrup, but like watered down. But it's not as viscous as I would expect. It's got to be probably younger, I would think. But, who knows with these things. But that's just what I'm getting. So,
Wes.
I wrote not a lengthy finish, fleeting wood tannins.
That's twice fleeting has been used in the tasting here. I like that. And Tim.
I got a lot of bitter tannin. And it just drops off like all that spice, all that I'm gonna say rye spice. It's either young spice or rye spice drops off like mid palate, probably like 2 or 3 seconds in, and then it's just bitter and tannic and not quite new oak, but definitely not charred either. It's woody, but not like pleasant woody.
So if you guys had to take a guess here on age, proof, and you go ahead, any blanks that you want to guess on here, who distilled it, blah, 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 mash bill, whatever you wanted to say, let's go around the horn and say anyone who wants to take a guess, take a guess. If you don't know, you don't have to answer to any of those in particular, but if you want to guess on the proof, is it over 100 proof, under 100 proof, or whatever you think it might be? Let's start with Tim on this one.
I'm probably not gonna go as far as try to guess distillery. I would say it's, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna say it's like around 3 years old. 100 proof, higher rye. Let's say like between 10 and 15% rye. I want to say it's a craft distillery, but there wasn't something that stuck out like a uniqueness out on the palate. So I'm not gonna go that far. But yeah, I'd say it's young and 100 proof or close to 100 proof. I'll just call it 100 proof. 3 years, 100 proof, 10 to 15% rye. That's what I got.
Nick.
I'm gonna go no more than 2 years on that one. I think probably the proof is somewhere. I want to say 86. It tastes like it's probably in that range of maybe 86, but maybe as high as 90, but somewhere there. Honestly, after the last ass whooping we all took for trying to distillery, I think I'm gonna hold off on that one too. But you, just as a joke, maybe I'd say maybe it's Jim Beam because I'm not really liking it. I typically don't like Jim Beam's whiskey. So, but no, seriously, I really don't have a damn clue on that one.
That's fine.
Just shooting in the dark. That's what I get. So.
Wes, any guesses?
I would put it in the 90 proof range. I was going to say less than 4 years. I would say 2 to 3 years. And I would claim that it's a non-Kentucky bourbon.
Okay. Let's move on, shall we? At the end, we'll reveal everything. I should also mention we have about 15 coins left to sell. By coins, I mean the Modern Thirst Challenge coins. So, boom. You can look on the description of this video after it's live tomorrow or so, or you can go to our website, ModernThirst.com/shop. These coins are $10 a piece. If you buy one, they have as you can see on the bottom here, they have a serial number. Everyone has a serial number. That one's kind of hard to see. Yeah, Tim's got a good one there. So that serial number, if you buy one, I'm keeping track of all of those, of everyone I send out. There's 1 through 100, and we kept maybe, 10 or 15 of them for us. So there's only about 85 out there. But that's your entry. When they're all sold, I'm going to draw, randomly choose a number of 15 through 100 roughly. And the winner will receive a bottle of Batch 5 Foundation. That's 4-gate whiskey. That's a 9-month Kentucky straight bourbon. It is, there were about less than 600 bottles of that produced, I believe, or 600 bottles that actually made it to store shelves. It's fantastic stuff. It's a $200 bottle. So if you haven't got one, go get one now. Get a coin. That's your chance to win. And at the end of this video, everyone that already has a coin, I've already got your numbers, and I'm going to pick a name randomly from that. And anything that we are tasting blind tonight, you get you get your pick from it, and I'll send you a 2-ounce sample. And we'll keep doing that until they're all sold. So just because you've bought one and we haven't done the drawing yet doesn't mean you can't at least win something. So you'll get your pick. I'll send you an email to anyone who has a coin. And if you're the one who won, I will send you an email. You get to choose what we're tasting tonight, what you want to try for yourself. So,
Bill, do you want us to jot down a score and save those for the end for each one?
Yes, please. Well, you can go ahead and tell me the scores now. Wes, what's your score?
82.
Nick.
And I was close. I was about to say 83.
And Tim.
83.
All right. Boom. So the next one is a side-by-side. So that means I got to drain my glass so that I have 2 glasses here. So the next one is B and F for you guys.
I'm a pouring.
And when I reveal these, you'll probably know why I chose these the way I did. So the only one we're going to rate today is B, but we're tasting it side by side with F just to kind of as a comparison. Okay?
Wait, what was that? The only one we're rating is B?
The only one we really need to rate is B.
Cool. Okay.
F is just kind of a comparison because it's a similar whiskey that I wanted to use for comparisons as a benchmark. I know everyone's had F. Probably.
I like the nose of F better.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I like that idea, Tim. Covered a little bit.
So I will go ahead just while you guys are tasting. The first one is over 3 years old. It doesn't have an age statement on it, but it's a straight Kentucky bourbon, so we know it's at least 3 years old. Who was closest? So Wes said less than 4, so it's probably about 3. Tim said around 3 years. Nick, you said around 2 years old. It is between 90 and 100 proof. I won't give that away yet. So Tim said
it's what?
Wes said 90. Nick, you said 86.
90. Somewhere in that range.
86 to 90. So you guys were all pretty much right in the range.
Interesting.
It is a Kentucky straight bourbon.
Interesting.
And we can talk about the stats of it.
Did you say it was 100 proof?
It's between 90 and 100. I'll tell you, it's a weird proof, so I don't want to say it until we're done because I don't want you to know what it was just yet.
That's fair.
Gotcha.
I am pretty damn sure I know what F is. If I'm wrong, okay.
All right, Tim. Let's start with F.
I'm gonna start with F.
Yeah. Tell me what you smell.
So it's really floral and sweet and spicy. Floral, maybe like rose petal. This is I picked up this scent before from a specific distillery. So that smells is very familiar to me. There's a little bit of ethanol. It's not too bad. Yeah.
All right, Wes.
On the nose for S, F. My first thing down was cola-esque with caramel. Then I wrote more fruits than B and or A. I wrote floral and apricot peach
Interesting.
on the nose.
Nick?
I get a ton of butterscotch and like a ton of toffee. Like it's just has that nice roasted like sugar and caramel candy over a hot stove kind of smell, kind of like my old my grandma's house when I was growing up. It smells really good. I really like it.
All right. And on B, let's start with we'll go backwards there, Nick. If you smelled B yet.
I have, but let me just review real quick here.
All right. So anyone else who's ready, Wes? On B?
This one completely different to me. Like on this one, I feel like I get some cinnamon and some like black pepperish, like very peppery notes. Probably a little bit higher rye than possibly. But yeah, a completely different nose than the other one for sure. But that's the two main things I'm picking out of it.
Wes?
After nosing all 6 of them before we started and comparing the two, I like the nose of F much better. B, I wrote a musty sweetness with a touch of wood note, maybe a slight spearmint on the nose a little bit, but definitely not nearly as floral, fruity, sweet on the nose as F.
And Tim?
Orange peel, a little bit of caramel, some cinnamon. It's kind of yeasty. Yeah, it's almost like a buttered yeast roll without the butter. It's a lot of just like dough, but man, yeah.
So I will say that when I nosed this one last night, I got the I think it was Nick who said on F, you said the roasted caramel and roasted candy. I got that in spades. I knew what it was, obviously, but I also agree on B, the caramel and yeast, kind of that doughy, bready, almost like you're going in a bakery before they've cooked it, and it gets that really great savory flavor. It's kind of more of a yeasty. I got that on B, on the nose. And I didn't get any spearmint, Wes, but I think I know what you're saying with musty sweet. And I think it was, I said something about one of my notes says like yeast dough and then old yeast, which is I think kind of that mustiness that I was trying to get to, almost like a dry rot or something like that.
Kind of like a funk, right? Like
a funk. There's a funk to it.
Like a
Yeah,
barnyard.
I definitely pick up that doughiness as I go back to it after you said that. It's definitely like freshly rising dough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, guys. I had to try it.
That's all right.
I really like this whiskey, man. I'm actually excited. And it didn't disappoint me. I think F is a winner for me in terms of my palate. I really like that a lot. So,
all right. So on the taste,
What are we trying first?
I'm really most interested in how they compare, but we'll go with F. Who's ready?
I'll say, you know, I don't get as much of the butterscotch and the toffee and the flavor, but I get like that nice burnt brown sugar, you know, almost like a cinnamon bun or something like that. Like I get that nice dark roasted baked brown sugar, and it's beautiful. It tastes really, really good. That's probably the primary thing I'm pulling out of it. What about you guys?
Tim.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out there right away because I'm pretty damn sure. I think this is Willet, Old Bardstown bottled in bond.
Okay.
It has that floral, fruity, spicy note that I get on the nose, and on the palate, lots of spice. little tiny earthiness, a little bit of vanilla, lots of caramel and mid palate. Oh man, tons of caramel and mid palate. Yeah, that's what I think it is. So I get, man, it's mostly sweet and spicy, and to be more specific, caramel and rye spice.
All right, and Wes?
I wrote, I do not believe it's really high proof. I was thinking between 95 and 100. I put flatter on the palate than I like the nose better than the palate. I thought it was a little flat, but I underlined caramel and a touch of spice at the end. So those were the two prominent things. So not a lot. I thought there was more going on the nose than on the palate for it. I actually, of the three we've tasted, I liked it the best. But that's my thoughts.
How about the finish?
The finish for me, like I said, I get a lot of that caramel mid palate, but that goes away. It's like a 5-second thing, and then a little bit of oak, a little bit of tannin, and spice just on the back end. Not super tannic and bitter. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's definitely middle of the road for the finish of me, for me rather.
Nick?
I mean, I'd say in terms of bourbons I had, it's about medium finish. You know, like doesn't hang around for a lot of time, but it doesn't go away as quick. Let's say as the A sample did. I still get a lot of that toffee, burnt brown sugar kind of notes in there. Maybe a little bit of like a cinnamon, maybe a nutmeg somewhere in there. But beyond that, that's about it. I mean, it's about medium.
Wes?
I wrote short to medium on the finish, caramel corn, kind of lingering there. Nothing off-putting, but just nothing that wowed me. I thought each portion of it went down a little bit to me. The nose being the highest, the palate next, and the finish the weakest.
Okay. Let's go into our guesses of, let's talk about proof, age, anything you want to guess, distiller. I think Tim's already thrown one out there. We'll start with B, though. We'll start with Wes.
Have we drank this one yet?
No, we haven't tried this one yet there, Bill.
Oh, okay.
B?
Yeah, we didn't drink this yet.
Well, let's try B.
Okay.
I thought we did.
No, man.
No, I did it wrong. Never mind.
You did it wrong?
I just wrote it down wrong.
Oh, okay. I was like, man.
I turned the page and I shouldn't have. Taste of B. Okay. We'll go with Wes first.
For the palate on B, I put some dark toffee, touch of orange zest, a little bit of wood spice, and some pepper on the end of the palate for that one.
And Nick.
Like a major roasted corn, like almost like what we call down here in Texas elotes. I don't know if they have them anywhere where you guys are at
I
too.
freaking love elotes. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it tastes like elotes to me. It has that very rich, deep, burnt corn. Like there's no way to me that these got to be the same whiskeys. There's no way they could be. They taste and smell complete. I also get maybe some like apple, like maybe even like a pan roasted apple, like you're making a pie or you're getting ready to create the filling for a pie. But not a whole ton after that, really.
And Timothy.
Just a tinge. Ooh, got a little on the wrong side. Hold on. Woo. All right. So lots of yeast again on this one. New oak yeast. Burnt sugar, but somehow it's burnt sugar and corn, like you were saying, elotes.
Corn syrup sugar too, buddy.
It's man, slightly better. Yeah, that's about it.
Let's talk about our guesses here. On B, we're looking for whatever you want to throw out there on the line. If nothing, it's fine. If you want to guess proof, if you want to guess age, if you want to guess mash bill, if you want to guess distillery, if you want to guess what it is, any way, shape, or form. Let's throw it out there. We're going to start with Tim for B.
I'm going to say 80 proof on this one.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3 years old. 80 proof and 3 years old. I'm just going to stick at that.
Okay. Nick?
See, I kind of feel bad now because the last one that we did A, and now I'm kind of thinking maybe that was a 3 year or more, because this one to me tastes like a 2. Like this one has that fresh, almost like moonshiny corn quality. Like it hasn't quite sat in the barrel too long. So I'm actually going to go 2 on this one. And if I can, I want to revise my previous to 3. Then again, though, you mentioned that earlier that you kind of gave away that, so we can't. But yeah, to me, this one actually tastes like a 2. It's young. It's not horrible. It actually has a pretty nice flavor to it. But I don't know if I would drink it a whole ton. I would say maybe in the range of about 90 on the proofage on that one.
Okay.
Tough to tell, though, especially as we get deeper into this. We're kind of on a torture rack here, Bill. So
that's part of the plan.
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
All for ratings, I swear. Wes, any guesses?
86 proof. I wrote straight with no age statement, so 2 years, and I have no guess on the distillery.
So no age statement means it has to be at least 3, right? If it's straight. Okay.
2, I thought, but
it has to be 2 years to be straight, but if it's under 3, it has to have an age statement.
It's under 4.
Is that correct?
It's under 4, it has to have
if
an age
it's under 4, it has to have an age statement.
Okay. That's right. I knew that.
Man.
All right. So F. Let's talk about our guesses on that. We're going to go back around the horn and say, Wes, start with you.
Shoot, I didn't write anything down on that one. I put not real high proof, but I think it was a little bit more in the other ones. I will guess 95 proof, which is a weird range, somewhere between 90 and 100. I think that one may be a little bit older than the other ones. So I think it is I think it's 4 years old, and I will not guess the distillery.
We'll go with Nick on this one.
I can tell you one thing. You guys nailed the Tomatin for me. That became one of my favorite whiskeys I ever had. Whatever this one is, I'm going to buy some because I love it. It is really, really good. I guess probably the same proof, maybe around 90. Okay. It doesn't seem like it has a ton of heat, but it's definitely not. To me, it doesn't taste like an 80 proofer. Age statement, maybe 4 to 6 years in that range. Hard to tell, but I definitely taste a lot more complexity from the barrel in it. And I love it. This is really good. I drink this all night. I'll tell you all. That's the completely honest truth.
And so, Tim,
I'm just going to stick with what I thought first. I think this is Willet. I think this is bonded. It's 4 years old, 100 proof. Yeah, that's my guess.
So I'm going to reveal the first 3 because 2 of the 3 are kind of a package deal.
Do you want to get our scores on those 2 first?
Yeah, let's get
got the West Jolly all of our asses right here.
All right, Wes, what's the score on B?
On B, I give an 84. On F, I 87.
All right, and Nick.
Oh, that one I definitely give about an 89. I really like that. I don't think it's perfection by any means, but it's pretty good. I really like it.
Which one, for F?
Oh, sorry, for F. Sorry. For B, I would say probably 85 in that range. It's improvement, I think, but it's not bad.
And Tim?
85 and 89. 85 for B and 89 for F.
So 89 for the Willet, right? That's what you're saying?
Interesting.
All right. So,
like it, Tim.
Number A, or letter A, number A.
Number A. Oh, it's Heaven Hill.
No, this is actually their distillate.
Is it really?
Yeah, so this is about 4 years
100%.
old. I believe so, and it's a mix of their rye and wheat mash bill.
That's right.
It is not age-stated, but it is straight bourbon, so it's 4 years old.
And it's 96 proof? 96 proof. Okay.
Right. So I could be wrong. This might not be any of their distillate. But but I thought it was.
Wow. Okay, I need to go back and look that up because I was under the
It could be Heaven
impression
Hill. It could be a mix
that
of
it was.
two. Because now that I think about it, I don't think Lux Row is 4 years old yet, so there has to be some Heaven Hill in there.
So rye and wheat. And what's the name of that again? I couldn't read the name.
That's Davies County. It's the Lux Row's new.
They did 3 variations of that. They did just a straight blend of rye and wheat, and then they did a rye and wheat finished in a French oak cask, and they did a rye and wheat finished in a sherry cask. And God damn it, Bill, if you did all 3 of those, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm telling you
Well,
right
I do
now.
have 2 of them because B.
Definitely get the rye, funky mint, and cinnamon and pepper
There's
in
that.
one.
There's
I
all
had
that
2
oak
of
I
them.
got on there.
Because B is Davies County finished in French oak.
You son of a bitch.
Same thing, 96 proof, but finished in French oak.
You son of a bitch.
And F, which Nick loved, and he's going to rush out and buy a bottle. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to find it.
Oh, of
you-
course.
You son
I do
of a
love
bitch.
that. I already have a bottle, of course.
So
I'm
the
so
reason
mad
I
right
threw
now.
this in is that we have a straight bourbon with French oak finish, and this is a straight bourbon with French oak finish that you can find anywhere. And I wanted to
I'm
show the two side by
mad.
side.
Makes so much sense, man. But definitely different whiskeys there, man. Don't taste the same at all.
They don't, and they're different mash bills, different distilleries, but the same finishing process, which I kind of wanted everyone to kind of compare and contrast. And one of the
Son of a
interesting
bitch.
things I think on that is that people forget about Maker's Mark. I don't know why that is. I think they make a really good wheated bourbon. I think it's on par with pretty much anything that Buffalo Trace makes that's wheated. It's definitely on par with anything that Heaven Hill makes, and no one talks about it. I think the Maker's 46 is spicy and tasty. The Maker's cast strength is fantastic, and the regular Maker's is a fine mixing or just sipping bourbon. Nothing wrong with it. If it wasn't everywhere and they didn't advertise all over the place, I think it would probably be a pretty popular bourbon. That's just
For the Maker's
That's something I agree
46. It's been several years since I've had that. Everything I wrote down matches up with my recollection of that, except how floral it was. The floral really threw me off on that.
So I think between the two of
go
them,
ahead.
my opinions were that the Davies County had almost a little bit of what I wrote down was a slightly chemical taste to it. I don't know if it's youth. I don't know if it's probably the barrels themselves, that French oak casks themselves. I don't think they
Son of
spent
a
enough
bitch.
time in them. Either that or they didn't do any charring or toasting to them. They really ought to, if you're going to use French oak as a finish process, you really ought to toast them. To me, this tastes like they didn't toast them.
I don't think they did.
That's just
you
me.
think maybe they over sanitized at the distillery there, Bill?
I don't know about the sanitation part of it. I just think that they didn't toast them. To me, it just tastes kind of like that new unaged, like not even necessarily the toasting, but you have to age the wood a little bit. And it has to be, you can do it in a kiln, you can do it naturally, whatever it is. When it's young, you almost get that sap or something in it. To me, it tasted like these were new French oak barrels that hadn't really been either toasted or hadn't been kiln dried properly. I don't know. If you've ever done a lot of woodworking, to me, it tastes like I had been out there and working a table saw a little too hard, and you get that kind of burning wood up in your sinuses.
Totally.
That's what it was to me.
So,
You know
Bill,
what's funny?
those Davies counties, are they both blends of a wheated bourbon and a rye bourbon?
Yes.
And then both, so the distillate's all the same. It's a blend of those two, and then the first one was just new oak, and the second one was French oak, or
Correct.
finished in French oak.
Correct. I don't know about the third one. Tim might know about that one.
The third one's a wine finish. It's either I think it's sherry, but it's finished in a wine cask. So you have no finish, rye and wheat. You have oak finish, rye and wheat, and then you have wine finish, rye and wheat, and you have blue label, which is the blue label, which is the rye and wheat, just straight, no blend. And then you have the white label, which is the French oak finish, and then the red label, which is the wine finish. And, it's interesting tasting B and then going back and nosing F. Back in my head, I was like, this is a wheated bourbon, but I've really been working on going with my first instinct, but I really wanted to change and be like, you know what? This is wheated. And son of a bitch, it was.
So on Facebook, John Belushi is saying that Davies is Owensboro, and that's true. Davies County is where Owensboro is, but this Davies County with 2 S's is the new proprietary line from Lux Row, and it's specifically on the back of the bottle there in Bardstown. I don't know why they chose that name. There's probably something in some of the marketing, but I don't know off the top of my head of why they chose Davies County. Maybe that's where they were originally located. I don't know. So let's go on to the next one. We're going to go ahead and do C on its own here.
Okay.
So we all put F as our top of those 3. So Maker's 46 took the.
I guess I'm
honors.
gonna have to go back and drink more Maker's 46 because I rated it pretty damn high. I mean, I like the other one too, but
I'm telling you, people sleep on Makers. It's solid. I'm not saying it's going to blow you away. I'm not saying it's fantastic, but then again, I mean, regular old green label Weller really shouldn't blow you away. It's not phenomenal whiskey or anything like that. I like, of all of the Wellers aside from the antique collection, the only one I actually like is the antique. I like it a lot. I really have yet to have one of the Weller full proofs that's not really bad, and I think the Weller green label is pretty pedestrian, if you had to ask me. I haven't tried the new single barrel, and I haven't had the CYPB or whatever it is.
all right, so we're pouring C.
Interesting.
Fucking Maker's showing up again in this blind taste.
I mean, after
bitch.
Wes's
After Wes fucking with all of us. Damn it, guys, come on.
I've always loved Makers, though. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like you said, Bill, it's not to knock your socks off, but man, it's a damn good daily drinker. That's for sure. Any one of their expressions you'll be happy with.
And John saying that Weller Special Reserve is cheap. It's $30 a handle, and I agree. I think it's a great $18, $20 bourbon, and $30 a handle. I think it's a great bourbon at that price. My real only issue with it is people spending $100 for a bottle of it on secondary. I think is absurd.
You know it's just as good. You know it's just as good and readily available. Rebel 100.
You know what else is Maker's Mark, and it's a wheated bourbon.
Past
They
stream.
keep burning us and keep biting us right in the ass, don't they? The Makers boys. I love it though. It's good stuff.
All right, let's talk about the nose on this one. Wes, I know you've had some notes written down.
For C, I actually put them ABC, so I was comparing those to each other. I put a touch of spice on the nose, slight mint, caramel. Of the first 3, I like the nose of C the best. So compared to A and B, I have no clue what this is, but good start to C.
Okay, Nick.
Tell you what, this reminds me a ton of Tarnished Truth's High Rye 3-year bourbon. So I kind of an inclination to go that route. It just reminds me a whole ton of it, but I get a lot of mint. I get a little bit of like citrus in the background, maybe some sugary citrus, definitely some caramel vanilla, but that's my guess on it for sure.
And Timothy.
Get a lot of cereal note, some caramel. There's something citrusy, not quite orange peel. Maybe more like lemon rind, like the inside of the lemon peel, the white part. It's like muted citrus.
So almost like a zest, like a lemon zest.
More like zest, but not like the front part of the zest where you actually get like the essence and the oil. More like the backside of it.
The rind?
The rind, yeah, man.
Interesting.
Maybe like a cough drop or something. I don't know. It's weird.
You know what? I could go with the rind or cough drop on that.
Yeah, it's weird. I taste it. I feel like that reminds me of when I was a kid having the cough. You know, like they give you like a Ricola or something. It kind of reminds me of that space.
Well, let's talk about taste and finish. We'll kind of combine the two here, and we'll start with Tim on this one. I'll stop putting Wes on the spot every time first since he has his notes down.
Ooh, that's spicy. Wow. Lot of rye spice. and some caramel right up front. Man, little tiny bit of mint, little tiny bit of dill, which is kind of making me think that this is a rye whiskey. It has a longer finish than some of the stuff that we had. And then you get that nice Kentucky hug that just kind of holds on. So definitely a longer finish, but longer finish on the rye, on that spice, not so much long finish on everything that was happening front and mid palate. And a little, and then in the very, very faint background, more of that citrus rind. It's bitter and slightly citrusy. I would say this is like a medium long finish too.
Medium long, okay. Nick, what are your thoughts here?
On the sip or
yeah, taste and finish. Just kind of combine the two of them there.
Man, I mean, I think I wrote the article for the Tarnished Truth. I will agree with Tim. I'll straight up say that this tastes like a rye whiskey or a very high rye bourbon. I'm pretty damn confident in saying that. The finish is nice. I put it at a medium, just maybe slightly under medium. It is slightly fleeting towards the end, but it holds for a minute. It's viscous. It's beautiful. Very minty. And yeah, I mean, that's really about it. It reminds me like a eucalyptus cough drop. Now, the more I think about it, it really has that kind of essence to it.
And Wes.
Well, you stole my thunder. I wrote rye presence. I don't know if it's a rye or just a high rye bourbon. I wrote caramel spice and then mint lemon honey drop. I thought it was a lengthier finish of the 4 so far. I still put it as a solid medium overall in the finish, but definitely get that spice characteristic.
All right. So our guesses and scores. We'll start with Tim.
Let me take one more sip of this. I'm having a hard time guessing a proof just because it's so spicy. So I'm going to say this is a rye, not a bourbon. I'm going to say this is between 4 and 6 years old. I put it around, man, that spice is throwing me off on the proof. I'm not going to guess proof, but I'm going to say that this is probably a rye whiskey. A rye whiskey between 4 and 6 years old.
What do you score this?
I would say this is like an 83 for me.
All right, Nick.
I'm actually going to score it an 86, man. I really like it. I don't think it's perfection. It kind of has some characteristics of like an MGP, kind of a bourbon or rye. So it kind of reminds me of that in a bit. But yeah, I say it's like an 86 in terms of the proof. No, sorry, 86 on the score. But in terms of the proof, I'm going to say somewhere probably closer to 100 proof. Maybe 7 to 10 years on the aging. It tastes like it has a pretty
okay.
Aging on it. Okay. To me, anyway. But you know, one thing I always preach is everybody's palate's different, so you kind of always pick up what you pick up, and other people pick up what they do. But
I was actually going to say 90 proof
stuff, man. Pretty interesting on some of that stuff.
Wes, what are your guesses? What are your thoughts?
I think the spice belies the proof. I think it makes it taste higher than it is. So I put 92 proof, and I think it's around 4 years old, and I gave it an 85.
You guys really are going to hate me on this. Because you should have guessed it at this point.
Get honest.
Oh, you fucking piece of shit.
Damn it, Bill. It's the same stuff finishing Cabernet wine barrels.
Wow.
I'm quitting. That's it. I'm out of here. I'm out.
Yep.
Later. I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now. I
promise that's all the Davies County that we have.
Oh, man.
I'm not leaving.
Hey, I was pretty close on the proof. Is it 96 proof?
It's
Yeah,
96.
96 proof.
Way to go, Wes. That's fucking awesome, dude.
Nick said 100.
My
Wes said
thought was 90.
92. So, I mean, you guys were kind of split the difference there.
Dude, you
So-
know what's
How old
wild?
is it?
We're getting roughed up again, fellas.
You know
Damn
what, man? I don't like you right now. Consider this my letter of resignation.
Well, I couldn't
Fucking
let
done
Wes
with
have all the fun
Done
last
with your
time,
bullshit.
screwing
with
us
your
all with
bullshit.
this.
Fucking horseshit.
Did they put an age on that, or is it?
Same as the other
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
It's just it's straight
No,
bourbon whiskey finishing Cabernet Sauvignon casks.
cab.
Did they
That's
say
what
how
it was.
long they
Cab.
finish it, or is this kind
Does
of
not
up
say.
in the air?
Just kind of.
I'm going to guess it's probably they're all probably 4 year.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I will say
Damn.
something that I learned recently is the TTB has changed their guidelines.
Oh, okay.
So from Foregate, we learned this that you can no longer say barrel finished or finished in on a label. You
Really?
have to say you can
really?
now say apparently now. Who knows if they're going to change their mind again? But now you can say, for example, our batch 6 was 12-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon, finished in cognac and dark rum casks. Now what we have to say is we're apparently allowed to have the age. We're allowed to say aged 12 years in new oak barrels and an additional however many days, months, years, whatever in another type of cask. But barrel finished is no longer going to be allowed on a label.
I saw that.
What the hell it means.
I saw that recently from a rum, actually. More specifically, Rolling Fork. They sent me a tasting kit, and they said it's actually part of the label that it's a 10-year-old rum, and then aged in an additional 22 months in another barrel. So
Rum
that
is always
actually
going to do whatever the hell they want. You can put like 23 years on it, even if it's Solera aged. It's crazy.
this
The
is
whiskey, the TTB has and rightfully so, has a stick up their ass about whiskey aging. So just a little tidbit of information that this is what they came back and told us on some labels that we're in the process of filing with them, that we're no longer using barrel finish. You can't put it on the label at all. So it has
Thank
to
you,
be-
Bill, for repaying the favor of the makers' private selects. But I will say on this one, the thing that really surprised me, I liked it the best of the 3 Davies counties, but we all picked up on a spice, but not a red wine spice.
Yep.
That's the thing that surprises me the most. There was no dark fruits. There was no red fruit notes to that, which I would expect to get in that finish.
I was surprised that Tim didn't think this was the old Bardstown, because to me this was straight up menthol cigarettes on the nose, which in my experience, the Willet anything they've distilled themselves is straight up menthol cigarettes on the nose and a little bit on the palate. And that's what I got. And everyone kept saying mint and spearmint and menthol and eucalyptus. And I'm surprised, really surprised that the last one was the one that got the Willet comparison, when to me, that whatever was going on with that Cabernet Sauvignon finish, this was straight up Willet to me. I would have guessed, if I had not known what it was, I would have guessed that was a 4-year Willet bourbon on the nose.
I'm actually as we're doing this, I'm gonna go back through and open this bottle of Old Bardstown and
So Makers 46 is still in the lead.
yeah, I mean, as far as our ratings go, they really are. So
That's so true. It is.
We're going to move on to D. I can pretty much promise you that you guys haven't had this before.
Okay.
swear to God, Bill, I
This
will
is
drive over to your house.
So we're going to D, right, guys?
D.
Yep.
So this is not, I'm not trying to trick anyone on this. I just want to taste it straight up for the first time. I've never seen it in stores around here. I got a bottle of it sent to me to try. And I'm really rooting for these folks.
Like the nose.
You'll understand why, I think, after we
Let me cleanse my palate a little bit here with some water.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. That's fantastic.
I have not tried this one. I haven't sipped it, haven't smelled it, nothing. This is perfectly new for me.
Oh, that nose is beautiful, man.
Man, that's interesting. Let me write some stuff down.
We're recording it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God, what is happening in here? This is awesome.
Can't disagree with you, buddy.
Wow.
This is an interesting one.
You don't mind if I say something?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
I get like a cheesy funk, almost like a
Like a blue cheese?
quite like a Limburger or like a Chimay cheese, but like that same kind of barnyardy funk to start with. But oh my gosh, do I get orchard fruits? I get your apples, your pears, and just about anything in between you can find on a tree in the middle of an orchard somewhere. It reminds me of like an old farm. Like it has like an old farm smell quality to it.
Definitely less spice on the nose. I definitely get the pear. But on the palate, I start getting that. I think this is a newer distillery because I start getting some of that pine and eucalyptus note a little bit on the palate. But really like the nose.
Tim.
Man, that earthy, that funky earthy note is coming to me in a different way. I'm getting like wet old hay. Like once hay's dried, growing up, I hung out with one of my friends, Ryan McGinnis. Ryan McGinnis, if you're watching this, cheers, buddy. But they had 5 acres of land and they had tons and tons of just like wild animals and stuff. And there was times where like it was fresh hay on the top, but it'd been sitting for like weeks. And it just got like wet and muddy and gross. So it's like old, dry, wet hay, peaches, Werther's Originals. And that was the first thing I got. So it was like, oh, wow. It was just like straight up Werther's Originals right on the front. It's like caramel butterscotch. Oh, man. So, yeah, sweet. I'd say sweet, fruity, and earthy on the nose. And tiny in the background, tiny little pick of spice.
As the world whiskeys guy, I would say it has the most non-American nose of any of the previous ones we've tasted.
Whoa.
I know that these are all American whiskeys, but
These
I
are all
think there's
American
elements to it that are Scotch leaning.
Yeah, like a spontaneous fermentation. It almost smells like, my only drawback on the nose for myself personally is it kind of smells like wet paint. I kind of get a faint wet paint smell in the background somehow. Like I'm smelling spackle and wet paint from a construction site. But other than that, I really love it. It's very fruity. It's very beautiful. But then you get that. Maybe that's part of the funk. But I'm just getting that, and there's no way to get around it.
Do you ever have to go through and use wall patch for like little tiny pinholes, like nail holes?
Sure,
That's
definitely.
It's like putty or just wall patch or whatever it is. That was fucking spot on, dude.
Let's get into some tasting here.
All right, here we go.
Man, on the palate. Oh my God, dude, this is a roller coaster.
Yeah,
holy shit. I'm getting a lot of like red fruit mid palate. I got peaches right on the front, and then it was just like super sweet and then instantly earthy, and specifically peat moss earthiness. And then right back into that red fruit mid palate. Having a hard time like pinpointing exactly what kind of red fruit. Man. Wow.
Have you guys ever had Calvados before?
No. What is that?
It's actually like an apple-based spirit from France, where it's basically apple brandy, essentially, but it's like
cool.
protected like cognac, essentially. This reminds me a lot of Calvados, a lot, and it just smells like to me like some guy's small farm that they're out there taking their own apples off of, stomping the crap out of them with their own feet, and then making a cider that they're making liquor out of. It just reminds me of that so much. I can't get around it. To me, this does not even really taste like whiskey. but it is. I'm sure it is. But my gosh, it tastes like apples. I can't get around it.
Wes?
My God. Ooh.
On the palate, I put honey sweet, but then spice and pine and eucalyptus. That's the only thing that throws me off. I agree with Nick that I think it's the most non-American profile of the whiskeys we had. I can see the Calvados. I put a touch of spice and wood on the finish. I thought the finish was the weaker element. I still think it's younger just because of the palate. I think it has definite potential. Not my favorite of the night, but I think it has some unique characteristics.
So what are our guesses? Anything that you want to take a guess on of what this is, what kind of alcohol, what kind of whiskey? It's all whiskey. What it is, what the proof is, what the age is, etc.
I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna say age of proof, but I am gonna say under 4 years, and also it kind of tastes like to me that they're aging in younger barrels or smaller barrels. So this isn't I'm going to say that this isn't a 53 gallon age. I'm going to say they're aging in a smaller barrel, and that's about it.
And Wes?
I put 90 proof craft, 2 to 3 years old, and I would not be surprised if they aren't finishing it in something.
Any guess on what it is?
I do not have any guesses on what it is.
I mean, like what type of whiskey?
I would just say American.
Okay.
It does not fit the profile of bourbon, rye, or anything.
Okay.
Maybe used barrels.
Okay. Nick?
I'm right there with both Tim and Wes. I would put that as a straight American whiskey. Almost in some ways kind of reminds me of a Tin Cup, but it's not as funky as that whiskey. You know what I mean? Like Tin Cup would be like the very sanitized version of this, whatever it may be. But yeah, I don't think I would want to say it was a bourbon. Who knows? Of course, it'd probably be the same. This is Davies or whatever, but still.
This is when I poured all three of the Davies together in one.
All three of the Davies together in one bottle.
What are your scores?
No, I would say 90 proof on that one. And since I was just saying stuff, I'll say 85 on that one. That was definitely like an 85.
I put 85 exactly.
I really liked this one. I put this one at 93. This one is winning for me right now. I'm really curious to know what this is because it is. I will say I know it's younger. It's got to be younger. If it's not, I'm going to be surprised. But this is checking some boxes for me right now. I like this guy.
So this is I'll tell you what it is. We'll start out. Two of you were spot on in proof. It's a 90 proof. This is rye whiskey. It does not say straight rye whiskey. It is sourced, but it is not in Indiana. It's not Indiana or Kentucky. This is bottled blended by Stolen Wolf in Pennsylvania.
What? That's
Does anyone know who
awesome.
Stolen Wolf is?
No.
Dick Stoll was the last master distiller at the original the last Baumburger's distillery before Michter's bought out the name. So he was a master distiller up there for many, many, many years. And he's involved with a new distillery up there they call it Stolen Wolf. He's lent his name to it, and they're now producing whiskey. They have some young whiskey of their own. This is 4 years old. It's 48 months. It's a rye whiskey distilled in Virginia. But it's 90 proof. It does not say straight.
Do you know if they're using smaller barrels?
I can't say that for sure. It did not say anything in the literature they sent me. But I know it's
probably right, Tim. A lot of the craft ones do that, man.
And I am really, really, really rooting for Stolen Wolf because I think Dick Stoll is a legend who hasn't really gotten his due yet in the whiskey industry.
I'm telling you right now, this is my favorite thing tonight so far.
Pick ace.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I have not tried that whatsoever before tonight. Haven't even smelled it.
That was a wicked pick there, Bill. I was not expecting that. That's for sure.
Man, dude, that was killer. Well, let's finish this off. We're going to E.
Yep.
Damn.
Oh, shiz.
Since we're talking about new rye, I mean, even though that's sourced, I want to take a quick moment. Oh, geez, Louise, to bring up.
Don't break your bourbon collection.
I'm not going to, but I'm going to bring up another rye. I mean, this place is blowing up right now. You guys haven't heard about it. You're probably living under a rock as far as the bourbon community goes. Starlight. This
I
thing,
love Starlight.
dude.
Really?
Starlight. This is a 5.5 year single barrel rye at cast strength, 114.2 proof. This thing is not going to last long.
Hey, don't be so mean though, Tim. We're just barely getting Remus down here, so we're not in Kentucky like you got.
No. Here's the thing: you cannot be in Kentucky and be connected to what's going on and hear about it. This is blowing up right now. This isn't in Kentucky. This is Indiana, and this is my favorite rye right now. This is stupid good. I put this in the category with what we just with what we just drank. Stolen Wolf.
That's the Huber family, right?
It is, yeah.
I've had their single barrel pick. I went on a single barrel pick with Chris for Whiskey and Wine for their bourbon. And when I tasted it, it was only 3 or 4 years old. And I remember saying at the time, and I believe there's an article about it on ModernThirst.com if you want to go check it out, that I thought that when that stuff hit about 5 to 6 years old, it was going to be some of the best stuff on the market. Everything we tasted, everything they had, and everything I thought, it's a little young, but it's fantastic. They're aging in, it's full size barrels. They're not cutting any corners. The Huber family has this massive farm. They've had these massive farms over in southern Indiana. You can go pick blackberries and fruit, and they've been doing liqueurs and liquors and stuff from the fruit that they make. And then they started a winery, and they didn't kind of cheap out and just say, hey, we're suddenly going to make wine. They sent their kids to intern with Coppola vineyards and cake bread and stuff like that. So all the young people in the family who were going to eventually take it over and are now kind of leading it, they're legit. It's not like they didn't know what they were doing. And then they did the same thing when they said we're going to start a distillery and going to start making. Their kids went out and worked for Jim Beam, and they worked for big distillers, and they know what they're doing. And they're making great stuff, and they're in an area that should be able to make great stuff. And they've got a long history in being able to put good stuff into bottles. We'll put it like that. And I think they're doing great stuff. I love it. So has everyone smelled E?
Yes, and I tasted it side by side with my favorite of the night to see what I like the best.
I'm just going to go off on a limb and say this is Maker's 46. No,
This is Davies County mixed with Maker's 46.
Yes.
It does have that nice butterscotchy nose for me. I am picking that back up, but it's not as prominent as it was with the 46. It's
so
more
one,
of a hit.
we're kind of comparing and contrasting to D.
Okay. Fantastic.
On E, I get caramelly apple with red apple skin on the nose.
Nick.
What, on the nose?
Yep.
Like I said, I get a hint of butterscotch. I get some it's hard to say. I used it in the last review, but like a beef juicy. You guys ever had like a steak that was just running with juice and you can smell that? It's really hard to explain, to put
Meaty.
into words.
It smells meaty.
It almost has a hearty, thick beef, juicy,
savory-
meaty flavor or smell to it. Like it has that flavor. I doubt it does actually, but yeah, I'm getting that. I don't know what it is.
Tim.
There's an interesting umami note that I'm getting right up front, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever made mushroom powder out of dried mushrooms.
What kind of mushrooms are we talking about here?
Truffle dust. Nice.
Not truffle dust. No, like
Magic?
like cremini, like but powdered. It's dried. So it's like real quick, funky up front, and then kind of fruity and zesty. Can't pinpoint the fruit at the moment, but definitely orange zest. And a tiny bit of spice in the background.
Okay. Let's go to taste.
Even though this is Maker's 46. Yeah, after he said that.
This is not Maker's 46. I'll go ahead and tell you. There's none of that.
I did pick up some cherry. I do actually get some cherry when he said fruit. Like, it does taste or smell like a roasted kind of cherry pie-ish smell, flavor.
Ooh.
It's on the nose. Like, I definitely get some cherry, actually.
I'm getting a little tropical.
First until he said fruit. And I was like, wait a minute. Yep, I do get that.
I'm getting a little tropicalness now. I'm getting coconut and mango now. Whew.
That's a lot.
I mean, it could also be this sample 6 too, guys. That could be part of it.
I do have a spitter. I have not been drinking everything that we've been sipping.
And the end of the night, anyone who buys a coin, for everyone who buys a coin, if we can sell 2, Timothy will chug the spitter.
Actually, I'm game. I'm game. If that really happens, I'll do it. I don't care. Let's get weird. Let's do it. Man.
Why not? Get weird with it. Wait, what are we doing now?
All right, to go ahead and taste it.
Sorry, I tried it a little bit ahead of time.
I did too.
All right, Wes, start with you.
I put sweet on the palate, spice at the end. I get a graham cracker. I thought it was really nice mouth coating. I thought the spice keeps going and going. It actually was my favorite of the night. It's the one that I would actually put money down on.
Tim.
So we went right back into that tropical fruit. As soon as I sipped it, it was sweet coconut. It was like coconut water and coconut cream mixed. Like if you could water down coconut cream with coconut water, and then peppercorn and peppercorn, sweet and spicy. A tad bit of that earthy funk I was getting from that mushroom. Yeah. So still fruity, spicy, sweety, and funky.
Okay. What you got there, Nick?
Man, I'll tell you, I can't really go against anything Wes said. I think Wes really nailed it. I mean, I get really a lot of the same exact idea from it. It's my favorite so far. In terms of the flavor, like I think that F had the better nose personally, but the sip of this one is fantastic. Like it has all the same notes that I smelled in F, but they are amplified and they're there in the sip, and it's beautiful. I would also say this one's probably aged a little bit longer than maybe some of the ones we've had before too, but hard to tell. I know we're not getting to that part yet, but like I'm just noticing. Man, I just really like this whiskey, whatever the hell it is. Even though it's Maker's 46. We all know that, but still, I really like it.
It's Maker's 46. Okay, let's get into our guesses and scores. We'll start with Tim.
Man, I don't know on guesses. I would say score, it's my second favorite of the night. I put it at like a 90, 91. I'm going to say proof. I'll say like 103, 105. I know it's not a proof of anything, but it's a little higher than 100, but not quite 110. I'm going to say it's a tad older just because I'm not getting a whole lot of acetone note. I'm definitely getting spice. So I'd say I feel like it's too complex to be a rye. So maybe a high rye bourbon with a little extra age on it, maybe like a 6-year high rye bourbon.
Okay. Nick?
For the proofage, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like we're sensing a theme here. I doubt it's any more than 95, probably about 90. Age statement, I think, would probably be about 7 years, I would think, if I'm guessing. I don't really get a lot of the characteristics of anything like a wheated bourbon or a rye bourbon necessarily. This one, to me, tastes really balanced. Like it has a grain bill that kind of features them all. I'm not sure on that, but I would give it a 90 for sure. This is my favorite whiskey so far tonight.
And Wes?
I put 96 proof. I think it's the oldest of the night. I don't know what Makers is, but I just put 4 to 6 years. But it was my favorite of the night, and I gave it an 89.
Okay. All right. Well, this one is. I'm just kidding.
You son of a bitch.
Kidding.
So this one, I threw a little curveball at you. This was the highest proof that you had for tonight. It was the oldest. It is 113.2 proof. It's 7 years old, and it is 5.5 rye. That was the 4-gate River Kelvin rye.
Oh, kick.
That's our newest rye.
Shout out to 4-gate. Amazing. What was that, Bill? Was that 7 years?
7 years? Yes, it is.
How long did I say?
I made the mistake of calling when I tasted that live. I made the mistake of calling it 7 years, 7 months.
I heard that. I heard that.
And apparently it was just 7 year. I for whatever reason, it was just burned into my brain that it was a 7 year, 7 month. Dude.
I've tasted that sample, and my notes match up actually, which is really weird. And in my notes that I tasted before, I thought it does not taste like 113 proof. So that makes sense why I guess it was 96 proof, but I just see everything else. And I thought it was in the 89, 90 range when I first tasted it. So it was my favorite of the night.
So smooth. Also, have we learned anything from this? Drink makers and drink Bill's whiskey, because it's freaking amazing.
Drink my
whiskey. I'll tell you what I learned. That Bill is a son of a bitch. That's what I learned.
I'm not as big a son of a bitch as Wes is. I didn't.
That's true. That's very true.
We were going off the deep end on that. Really, we're like, I guarantee you, this is Henry McKenna 10 year. I promise you. No, it's not. This is a hot. No, it's not. I think at one point I swore that it was MGP, and it was. They were all Maker's Mark. So.
No, I think it's interesting that. But it's weird because when I reviewed this, I remember drinking it and I said this is a bourbon drinker's rye because it's not spicy, even though it's a 95.5. It's not spicy like a rye normally is. It's really really well balanced of a rye.
Bill, you will notice there was no one said dill.
Yeah, exactly.
In any of the comments.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you about that earlier today. You know, graham cracker with some spice, sweetness, and everything. I think it is a perfectly balanced 95.5 rye. Take out the dill and mint note that a lot of people typically get.
This was so when we had all these barrels, and we needed about 9 of them for the batch. And I specifically picked the ones I don't like dill. Everyone else says dill on rye. For me, it always tastes like spearmint, like I'm chewing a wintergreen gum or something. I never get dill. I always, once or twice I've had dill. It's always been mint for me. On this one, I wanted the one that had the least mint and was the most towards like a candied. To me, what I get from MGP and what really shines for MGP, whether it's a bourbon or rye, you remember, when you're a kid and you get like canned peaches or fruit that you would take to lunch, you crank the top off of it, that water.
Hell yes, dude. Yes.
To me, that's MGP. That is like the underlying flavor of MGP. It's like a citrusy, sweet, like candied, sugary, sweet zestiness underlying their black pepper or the corn or whatever the base whiskey is. So I want whatever highlighted that the most and kind of push that spearmint to me to the backside, to the back of it. So those were the 9 barrels that went into this batch.
Cool.
I specifically was trying to remove that spearmint that other people get dill with. I was specifically trying to blend away from that. So I was very happy that very few people have mentioned that so far when they taste that whiskey.
When I tasted this live, I got a lot of like spruce and pine and eucalyptus. But those tropical notes that came through, those fruity tropical notes that came through, those were new for me. I mean, your palate's always going to fluctuate from day to day, but this E and D are neck and neck, man. I'm about it.
I'm thrilled with the Stolen Wolf. I've been anxious. I've been waiting for this tasting. I sent these out 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've been wanting to try this in the worst way. I'm rooting for these guys. I know they sourced this from Virginia. It was distilled in Virginia anyway. I don't know if it was aged there or not, but I want them to succeed in the worst way. If this is the type of stuff they're able to source and put out while they're waiting for their distillate to age, I think they're going to be in good shape. I hope what they're able to put into barrels themselves are equally good. And they should be able to, because, I mean, if you've got Dick Stoll advising you, I mean, how wrong can you go here? I mean, let's be honest. He made that Baumburgers distillery. He made its name for the last 50 years before it became Michter's. So,
Well, Bill, you're doing it right, man. You don't talk up your stuff, but people on YouTube, listen to me. I'm not biased about this. Please, when I tell you, Four-Gate are the new. Go out and buy Four-Gate. This is not, we're trying to sell you a product here. Bill, I'm sure would be happy we were, but no. Tim, I'm sure Wes as well, and myself all love this product. It's incredible. Go buy Four-Gate whiskey. Whatever it costs, go do it. If you can find it, buy it.
I appreciate that. We're specifically trying not to have it on this site very often because it's a little hard for me to say, hey, go buy something if it's, if I have a financial stake in it. I just wanted to throw it into this blind one because we had this new rye I hadn't tasted. I want to taste it side by side with, I think that MGP rye is kind of the standard. Indiana rye is kind of the standard out there, and it's what most people equate to a rye flavor. So I want to taste them side by side with one, and we had literally just bottled and released that, so I sent it out to you guys too. But we really won't do Four-Gate very often on this channel. We'll talk about it once in a while, but we don't really review it for the most part. But with that being said, it is time, and I am going to randomize a bunch of names here, and we're going to draw a name for a sample. Whoever's name I pick here, you own a coin. I'm going to email you individually, and you may choose anything that we tasted tonight. So any of the 3 Davies County, I'll even include my Wilderness Trail single barrel that I'm drinking if you want. The Stolen.
I'll throw in this guy too.
Awesome.
If they want to pick from that, they can do as well.
Okay. So I'm going to randomize now, and Daniel Turpin, he may have actually won something already before. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. Daniel Turpin has won your choice of a 2-ounce sample of whatever we've tried tonight. So I will send an email out to Daniel. And
Four-Gate.
Hey, I got to be honest. You might be able to find the Four-Gate a little more than you can find that, depending on where you are. I don't know where Daniel lives yet. I'd have to check my other spreadsheet. But yeah, so I'm gonna send an email to him. You let us know what you want from that. I'll put it in a sample container and I'll send it out to you. Any guys? You guys have any parting thoughts or comments, Wes?
Great tasting. I love the mix of different distilleries there, and I would say that the rye, the Kelvin rye and the Maker's Mark to me actually took the 9. And I'm a Maker's Mark cask strength fan, but not, I would say, the 46 fan. So I may have to revisit that.
Nick?
I already loved the Maker's 46, so I'm just going to say that I hope every whiskey was until Four-Gate, which you should buy. Like I'm telling you, I mean that. I'm not just saying that to fluff Bill's ego, which I'm sure is plenty big enough. But no, he makes fantastic whiskey, or he doesn't make it. He sources fantastic whiskey, and it's amazing, and you should buy it. But also, I loved the tasting and how we were all kind of on different pages, but we'd all kind of meet up in some way in the same Cosmos. I think we all are doing the best thing and enjoying whiskey. That's the important thing. Enjoy it. Tell us what you think. Come to Modern Thirst and let us know what you think. That's the important thing here.
Tim?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and go kind of a different direction, because that Stolen Wolf really did it for me. Being in Louisville, people get caught up a lot on bourbon. Has to be from Kentucky. This is a common misconception. We won't go into that, but I would say my takeaway would be go and explore different regions and drink some different distillate that's not just from this area. Because my top 3 things that I drank tonight, I mean, this is up there. The Stolen Wolf was number 1, and Foregate was number 2, and Foregate's sourced from Indiana. So there we have 3 things that aren't from Kentucky, 2 from Indiana, 1 from Pennsylvania, or was it Virginia? Man, there's other great whiskeys that are getting done in other parts of the U.S. And I encourage people to go and explore that and see what else is going on across America.
On that note, I also know there's a distillery. I don't know that they want really the name out yet, but I've tried some of their stuff, and it's in North Carolina, and it's big, and it is soon, probably within the next year or 2, you're going to start seeing it in a lot of people who source whiskey. I know some people who have bought it who are pretty big brands. It's going to start showing up, and it's good. It's good stuff. It's North Carolina, and it's a big one. Like they have, most of these craft ones have very limited capacity. This one is big. And it's solid stuff. I've known lots of legit folks who've tasted it and say from, 1, 2, and 3 years old, it's definitely worth buying. So there's more out there. There's a lot coming. Wyoming's got some good stuff coming on. God knows out west, there's a ton of stuff of single malts and bourbons and ryes and stuff being made now that is fantastic. So in Texas as well, there's a lot of stuff coming out of Texas that's awesome. Just, open your mind and try some. And if you're a bourbon and rye drinker, if you're an American whiskey drinker, try a couple of world whiskeys sometime too. It's not all peaty. Try some scotches, try some Japanese stuff, try some Irish whiskey. There's some good stuff out there. It's really good. It's not all watery. I know the bulk of people think it's 80 proof and peaty. Some of it is, but most of it's not. You can get barrel proof stuff aged in sherry barrels that will knock your socks off.
I think for most Scotch, there's like this much that's actually smoky and peaty, and a majority of it is very either very light smoke and peat, or little to none at all. Drink some Scotch from the Highlands. That would be, we're talking about Scotch. I'm sure Wes would agree with this too, as far as peat goes. But yeah, Scotch from the Highlands is all right with me.
I would throw in a plug for Texas whiskeys, Balcones.
How dare you? That's my job.
From Colorado, Washington State, and if I had to talk about a world whiskey, you got to try. A little bit pricey. You got to give Cavalon a taste.
Taiwan. Is that Taiwan?
Cavalon.
Yeah, Cavalon is amazing. Please drink Cavalon. And Bill, hey, you didn't ever let any of us know. What were your ratings?
I didn't rate them. I'm certainly not going to rate the Foregate. That's not very fair. But in terms of my favorites, I liked of the other ones, I liked the Maker's 46 the most. And then I liked the Stolen Wolf. And then it was basically AB.
Sorry.
It was blue label, which is just a standard Davies County, and then the white label, which is the French oak. And my least favorite was the Cabernet finished Davies County, because I thought it had a kind of a chemical, that and the French oak, I thought it had a chemical kind of processed kind of flavor to it, which I wasn't really a big fan of. So
I think the top 3 of the night would have been I think Foregate probably came in first for the group, then probably Makers and Stolen right after that. So the last 3, D, E, and F, I think, took the night.
Yeah, I would. Those 3 were definitely in the top 3. There was a big separation between them and the Davies. The most surprising to me, and what I'm most excited about going home from this, is just like you guys and Tim especially were talking about, is the Stolen Wolf. again, I'm really rooting for those guys. I really, really, really want them to succeed. Their story, they're kind of the whole Baumburgers tradition kind of carried forward, because that is now a name owned by Michter's. But that Pennsylvania tradition, that's old, man. That's is older than the Kentucky traditions. And it needs to not die. It needs to carry on. And the perfect way to do it is to bring on Dick Stoll, who was Baumburgers for 50 years, probably. He was Pennsylvania rye, Pennsylvania whiskey. So I'm really rooting for them. I've had a couple of their kind of experimental stuff that's unaged that I think has a lot of potential. This is the first thing that I've had that they've sourced, and I really like it. They picked some good stuff, and they went outside of the box. I'm guessing they said, well, we're not Kentucky, and we don't ever plan to be Kentucky. Let's taste something that's more similar to what we want to do on a Pennsylvania style rye. And they went and they found something in Virginia, and damned if they didn't find some good stuff. 4 years old, and they're probably, I mean, you'll probably see it next year at 5 years old, and you know, down the line to start seeing some of their own stuff. And I can't wait to see what's going on with it. I think it's exciting. I love to see new regions popping up, and this isn't a new region. This is a rebirth of something that never should have died in the first place, in my opinion. So
sure,
I'm excited.
Certainly, it's history,
right,
man.
Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. And Daniel Turpin, I believe it is, we'll reach out to you via email and find out what sample you would like tonight. Everybody follow all my friends here on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere you guys are. So tell me, let's start with Tim. Tell us where we can find you.
Timothy Van Riper, Single Barrel Snob, on Instagram. That's pretty much where I'm at. I'm also on Twitter at Barrel Snob. Still getting into that one, but mostly on Instagram, Single Barrel Snob.
Check them out. Nick?
At Ficus Fire, Twitter, Instagram, and Ficus Fire also on Facebook. It's FYKUS FIRE, Ficus Fire.
And Wes?
Wes at ModernThirst.com, and on Instagram, Wes at ModernThirst.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks everyone for watching. You guys have a good night, and cheers.
Stay safe, people. Wear your masks.
Enjoy your Makers 46. All right.